President of Kazakhstan, Kassym-Jomart Tokayev, will take part in the first ever Central Asia-India Summit. The event, initiated by Indian Prime Minister Narendra Modi, will be held online on January 27th. The leaders are expected to discuss prospects for enhancing cooperation in various sectors between Central Asian countries and India. A declaration will be adopted at the summit follow-up, Kazakh President's press secretary announced. Kazakh diplomats held talks with representatives of 700 large companies. Thus, Kazakh Ministry of Foreign Affairs is working on restoration of the investment climate in the country. According to Deputy Foreign Minister Almas Aydarov, now there is a big task to prove that Kazakhstan is stable in relation to its investment obligations. A meeting with regional director of the ExxonMobil company has been recently held at the Foreign Ministry. This largest oil corporation has been working in the country since 1993. The volume of investments over this time has amounted to $22 billion.
Члены Совета инвесторов, кто участник Совета иностранных инвесторов, то есть вот со всеми этими компаниями сейчас я провожу встречи, это порядка 30 компаний.
I hold meetings with all these companies and members of the Council of Investors. There are nearly 30 enterprises. Our foreign institutions, our ambassadors abroad hold negotiations with head offices of companies located there. We covered about 700 companies. Some enterprises are concerned. Such large corporations as ExxonMobil see the big picture. They look not only at the situation in Kazakhstan, but also discuss what's happening around us. In general, we look at the figures that we now have. For example, the growth of investments in Kazakhstan's economy totaled 50%.
Видим, 9 месяцев у нас появилась статистика иностранных инвестиций. Мы идем с ростом 50%.
The agreement on the procedure for the protection of confidential information and liability for its disclosure by employees of the Eurasian Economic Commission has been amended. The corresponding draft law was approved today by the members of the lower house of the Kazakh parliament. A number of minor editorial changes were made to the document signed in November 2014 between Russia, Kazakhstan and Belarus. Thus, the words parties were replaced by member states, single were changed to common, and employees to officials and employees. It's worth noting that Kyrgyzstan and Armenia joined the agreement later.
Комиссия трансшекаралық нарықтардағы бәсекелестіктің жалпы қағидаларын сақталуын бақылау.
The Commission, in the exercise of its powers to monitor compliance with the general rules of competition in cross-border markets, namely the examinations of applications, the conduct of investigations, and the consideration of cases, requests, and obtains the necessary information, including confidential one from public authorities, legal entities, and individuals. The ratification and adoption of the protocol will ensure the full implementation of the powers of the EEC to monitor compliance with the general competition rules in accordance with the provisions of the EAEU Treaty.
Бәсекелестіктің жалпы қағидаларын сақталуын бақылау жөніндегі өкілеттіктерін толық іске асыруды қамтамасыз етуіне мүмкіндік береді.
The new economic policy should become the foundation of Kazakhstan. It in turn can be established by partnership between the business community and the state. Local and foreign economic analysts reviewed the key principles and tasks announced by the head of state at a meeting with business people. They believe that the model of cooperation between business and the state is equally beneficial for both parties. Collaboration with the authorities will give large businesses stability and opportunities for broadening further geographic and sectoral diversification. In turn, the state needs business as a solid source of income in the form of tax revenues and an entity that creates new jobs in the country.
То, что предлагает Касым-Жомарт Токаев, это модель, при которой крупный бизнес несет ответственность.
What Kassym-Jomart Tokayev offers is a model under which large business is responsible for the development of the country. It shares this responsibility with the state authorities on equal as well as transparent terms. The government, for its part, provides regulation and business provides fixed asset investment, creation of jobs. In fact, the state authorities and large business are supposed to work in such a synergy. This is a winning model for both parties, for sure.
Должна работать государственная власть и крупный бизнес. Это выигрышная модель для обеих сторон, безусловно.
President Tokayev met with the country's major entrepreneurs on January 21st. During the meeting, he called on business people to be patriotic and socially responsible and direct such resources as capital, experience, management teams, and a clear vision of the market to transform the national economy. Kazakhstan has restored international flights with 25 countries on 76 routes and a frequency of 257 flights per week. According to the country's Ministry of Industry and Infrastructure Development, the route network of domestic flights has also been fully restored. 605 scheduled flights to 57 domestic destinations are currently operated in the country. Good news for passengers of flights that were cancelled during the state of emergency. The relevant ministry noted that travelers can apply for a refund of the full cost of tickets or rebook them free of charge to other dates at the place of purchase. Kazakhstan reported 11,862 new cases of COVID-19 in the last 24 hours. The Kazakh capital of Nur-Sultan continues to account for the highest single-day caseload in the country. 2,352 new infections were recorded there in the past day. The city of Almaty follows with 2,126 new coronavirus cases. The Karaganda region is in third place with 2,058 new positive cases of infection. Since the onset of the pandemic, total COVID-19 cases in Kazakhstan have passed 1,178,000. According to data from the country's health ministry, almost 157,000 residents currently continue to receive treatment for coronavirus. More than 10,000 of them are in inpatient care. To date, over 8,714,000 Kazakh citizens have been fully vaccinated against the virus with 2 doses. Scientists have found out what made Omicron more contagious than other variants of the coronavirus. This strain has higher environmental stability than previous variants. Therefore, the virus survives on plastic for more than a week and on skin surfaces almost a day, Japanese researchers concluded. Coronavirus is usually transmitted through a sick person, but the infection can also be transmitted through the surface on which its particles have fallen. When comparing mutations, the maximum survival time was recorded when the virus infected half of all cells. The top 3 leaders included such strains as Alpha and Beta. A difficult situation with COVID is developing in Israel. The country is at the peak of the epidemic. Now there are 580,000 infected, more than 2,000 hospitalized, of which about 900 are in serious condition. At the testing points, every third PCR is positive. Very high infection rate among school teachers and students. However, the most alarming situation is in healthcare sector. Hospitals have almost stopped planned work. There is a catastrophic shortage of doctors. 10,000 doctors and nurses are in isolation or sick. The pressure on hospitals is growing at an incredible pace, and the more patients with severe course there are, the fewer doctors. In the first waves, we didn't see this. The vaccination protected from infection, and the doctors got sick much less often. Now, Omicron is also affecting the vaccinated, and we are experiencing an acute shortage of hospital and polyclinic staff. More than 1.5 billion children were forced to interrupt their education at the peak of the pandemic. This was stated by the head of the UN. But the crisis in education, according to Antonio Guterres, has not been overcome. The situation is particularly difficult in low and middle-income countries. Due to the lack of gadgets and the internet, many children could not study remotely. And if the necessary measures are not taken, the proportion of children who drop out of school and cannot read will continue to grow. The priority for governments should be the full reopening of schools and the reform of education systems, the organization believes. Kazakh Health Ministry has launched a new project, 100 Days, 100 Questions, Minister Azharginiat announced on her Facebook account. As part of this project, Kazakh citizens will be able to submit their proposals on improving the quality of medical care and other relevant aspects and receive prompt replies. Taking into account the importance of implementing the key principles of the hearing state voiced by the Kazakh president, the Ministry of Health directs maximum efforts to sensitively and promptly respond to the requests of citizens and implementation of priority tasks of social policy to preserve the life and health of citizens of the country. We are asking you for support in building an open dialogue with the participation of ordinary citizens, social activists without bureaucracy, and we are announcing the beginning of a joint project, 100 Days, 100 Questions, to improve the healthcare system.